Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lunch and Learn with Vince. I'm Vince Marino, and my next guest is Trent Cameron with EcoTech. Trent, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and EcoTech.
Thanks, Vince. Like Vince said, my name is Trent Cameron. I co-own a company called EcoTech with my business partner, Stephen Ballard. I've grew up in Texas, moved to Alabama to get my engineering degree at Auburn, and met my wife there, which ended up landing me on the Gulf Coast. Right out of college, I worked for the Corps of Engineers, worked a little bit of military construction, realized it wasn't the career path I wanted, and thought to get into industrial sales. And ended up working for a small distribution company, distributing pumps and rotating equipment, where I found kind of a love for that industry and rotating equipment or anything that's fluid handling. And met my business partner actually at church, and in a small group. We both were entrepreneurially minded, and so we started EcoTech. And EcoTech is a little bit different of a company when it approaches distribution and kind of service in the industrial world. We don't prioritize as much our house accounts as far as like our vendors or manufacturers. We try to put the priority back on the customer and solutions. And so we advertise ourselves as a solutions-based distribution company. And we want to be solutions providers, not product suppliers. And what that ends up doing is that ends up allowing us to have such success with our customers that it grows our success with our vendors. So it's a win-win. And that's been proven to be very, very received very well in the industry so far. Its growth has been tremendous.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
Well, the whole purpose of
today. Oh, go ahead.
The whole purpose of these Lunch and Learn videos that I do is the goal is really to encapsulate and capture how people helped other people in industries, right? So, if we can kind of record that and keep it for the future, other people could check it out on YouTube, watch the video, and possibly learn some tribal knowledge is what I call it. But it's always good to pass down, how you help somebody else. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and as far as how you've got Michael here with you, and a little bit more about them. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So Michael here is with a company called CP Pumpen. CP Pumpen and EcoTech have a unique North American partnership where we are helping kind of introduce some products they have that really the U.S. market hasn't taken advantage of as much as they should have. And we're kind of raising product awareness, showing their unique solutions, because they have a couple of patented technologies that it fits our mission statement, because it's a solution solver and it kind of breaks away from the traditional. So it kind of pairs real well with EcoTech and CP Pumpen, as well as a like-minded company. They're a solution solver. But yeah, Michael Mueller here can probably introduce himself a little bit more and a little bit about CP.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here in the US, all the way from Switzerland. I'm sorry for my English, maybe when you can't understand me sometimes. My dialect, I still have to improve it. I'm working with CP Pumps out in Switzerland for almost 10 years now. I took care of the European market, Swiss market, main markets. I always was on sites at the customers, solving the problems they have. Put on your helmets, your safety shoes, go around, walk on the site and see what is really the problem. Mostly the problem is not the pump itself, it's the process, what is before and after the pump. So that brings me over here to the US, actually. I took over the market a couple of years ago in the US to develop the market and show, especially our dear customers over here in the US market, since many decades over here in the market, just to show what solutions we do have in terms of pumps and in terms of helping our customers to solve their issues, their problems they have, to keep down the maintenance values they need to have on site, and just avoid any production loss they will have on site. So we have a kind of good products that brought us to search for a little, or to build up a new organization here in the US, which is really going direct to our customers, having a main partner here, such as EcoTech, and just one partner between CP Pumps and the client, and just work together with our partner EcoTech here to solve the customer's problem and be directly there. Be there when we solve the pumps, be there as well when the pump is installed, to avoid any problems.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is perfect. Now, can you guys just, and again, this is not prepared, we're just kind of talking. Can you give me an example? Literally, you don't have to name the company, but somebody had a problem and somehow you solved it. So how did that go down? Tell me about it. I mean, I want to hear what happened and how you came in and fixed it.
So we have, the industries we serve, it's kind of across there's not really, if we were to list them out, we'd be here all day. It's kind of across, if it's handling a fluid, we're involved. Right. One of our big ones would be kind of a pharmaceutical manufacturer. They have traditionally, most like clean in place style pumps would be mechanically sealed. And with a mechanical seal, you have the chance of contaminants getting into your process. And generally for pharmaceutical companies, they don't want any kinds of contaminants getting into what they're making. And it's a very, very bad thing if they do. This one customer with mag drive technology, you have no seals, no chance of contaminants. CP is, to my knowledge, potentially the only clean in place mag drive pump on the market. And the advantage we bring is when a pharmaceutical company is battling seals, very, very often, it's not so much the price of the seal, but it's the countless dollars that they have when they have to toss an entire batch because they had glycol or something come across that seal face and get into their process. For this specific customer, we were able to come in, analyze their setup, figure out, number one, why they're having problems with their existing pumps, because generally speaking, it's not usually just one issue. It's normally like, you got a process issue, like Michael stated earlier, and then you have some upset conditions. So you have to really look at everything on the process flow diagram and what they're doing and when they're doing it. In this instance, we were able to come through, install some CP pumps, show them the chances of reliability or chances of contamination is gone. And to date, they haven't had an issue with it. It's been an amazing success. And it's one of these things where in that industry, the product knowledge in the US, we haven't been able to, we've been doing this over the last couple of years to really promote some awareness. And a lot of these pharmaceutical companies don't even realize this technology is something they can take advantage of. It really blew their minds at this facility. They were like, why haven't we been doing this for the last decade? This pump's not new. It's just new to us. Yeah.
That's what I would like to throw in is like, we've been on the market since many, many years in the US, but maybe rather with baby steps. And we just had a small range of companies we've been helping out, and we didn't focus so much on the American market. But now together with our partner EcoTech, which we working now together since a couple of years, we're really seeing progress in really helping out the guys, making aware of the product we can supply our customers. Yeah. Thank you, EcoTech. Yeah.
I like it. Well, give me another example of how you had a challenge like that. Pharmaceutical industry is obviously extremely critical when it comes to infiltration, through a mechanical seal. But is there another example that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I probably got two other ones that could probably come to mind. Because of our unique design, and we'll get into that probably a little later. we have the best heat jacketed pump for a mag drive pump, which leads us to a lot of molten products, or products that you have to keep heated. Among those, kind of the industry standard for the worst fluid to try to keep hot is molten sulfur. And so molten sulfur, a lot of people haven't experienced it. If it gets too cold, it gets very viscous. But then weirdly enough, if it gets too hot, it gets very viscous. So there's a sweet spot in molten sulfur. You got to keep it and keep it heated correctly, because when you add viscosity to pumps, if it's not designed for that viscosity, you can have some serious issues. With our heat jacketed pump, we're able to kind of eliminate those. Most people in the industry have shifted towards pit pumps. And so what they'll do is they'll fill a big pit with molten sulfur, and then they'll stab a pump down into molten sulfur, and the sulfur itself is keeping everything temperature regulated. The downfalls of the pit pumps are you have pit maintenance, you have contaminants getting in from the pit, you have a huge pump that's sitting down in there, and you have bearings on the pit pump that are process lubricated. So there's a lot of downfalls from it. But historically, when people use a horizontal pump, if the seal breaks, you've got molten sulfur all over the place, which is not great.
Yeah.
And if you're and you've got to make sure that you heat every single part of that pump, because if it cools inside of it, you're going to blow a seal. And the common phrase for mechanical seals is all seals leak by design. A seal is always going to leak a little bit. And so what we always see when we come in for these molten sulfur plants is you'll see these yellow domes around every pump, because you'll get a thin layer of molten sulfur that comes through, vents to atmosphere, and when it vents, it's gonna settle out and solidify. So what we always like to tell them is, hey, would you like to get rid of those yellow domes? You don't have to have a guy with a shovel and a torch coming over there and trying to get that stuff up. We eliminate that completely. We also can eliminate the pit pumps. So we had a customer in the oil and gas industry and the sulfur desulfurization plants. They got sick and tired of the maintenance on these pit pumps. They got to pull them, get a crane, all that stuff. So they were able to reroute the process and have the piping feed our pumps directly in an in suction pump, eliminate the pit altogether, have extreme control over their temperature, and also take a 8 to 9 foot molten sulfur pump and replace it with something that could fit on this desk. From a maintenance standpoint, they can get 2 guys over there and pick it up, put it on a cart, and be done with it. No crane, no 4 to 5 hours of pulling it out or heating it up and getting it ready. It's a big win in the molten sulfur industry, and it takes away, the big challenge of horizontal was don't want to seal. Well, now we don't have a seal, so now we can go back to that horizontal pump, which has been nice. And Vince, I'd say that's one of our greatest is molten products. I'd say another great one for us is settling solids. And because of our design, we can handle 30% solids capability and up to 1 millimeter in particle size. And so for a lot of processes like brine, for example, when you're mixing up your salts and then doing like a batch process where you're just mixing it and then using a transfer pump to transfer it over for like brine injection, other services, most of the time it's batch. And so whenever you turn everything off, what happens to those salts is everything likes to settle, right? It's going to separate. So in most pumps that are doing this, what will happen is the pump will, turns off the pump, and the pump fills up half of this. Next time you turn on that pump, you end up torquing across your, mechanical seal, causing bearing wear. Eventually you're going to catastrophically fail it because you're just putting a lot of load every single time that you start it up. With the CP pump and this application, we were able to, since ours is irrelevant of orientation, we can pump vertically, horizontally, whatever we need. We're able to flip this vertically because it can handle 30% solids content. When it's settled out, it'll settle out evenly among the volute. So when you kick it back on, it's ready to go. We also integrated an external bearing flush, which we can use, and we dilute and flush our bearings at the tail end of the cycle just to flush out those solids. And this application that I have in mind went from trying an AODD pump, and then they busted diaphragm, it'd be everywhere. They tried, some trash pumps that maybe it's just could hold the solids better. corrosion, that kind of stuff, got them there. They tried some hose pumps, same problem with the AODD. And then they tried this, and it was compact. It's been working ever since. I think we installed that in 2015 or 14.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a big success.
That is quite fascinating. I'm just the regular guy, and I ask these regular guy questions. So I'm thinking about this in the settling of the solids. How did that come to fruition? I mean, did they call EcoTech, or was it were you guys calling on them, seeing if you could provide services? How does that work? I mean, is somebody saying, man, we're going through too many pumps, we're trashing our pumps? I mean, how did that go down exactly?
Well, that kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier about being a solutions provider. Like we don't market ourselves as like, hey, let me pick out from our catalog. So typically when we are in a facility and we represent a variety of other different equipment, I think this potential this customer uses our auto lubrication devices, which could be a whole nother discussion. We won't dive out into that, but amongst the other products that we have, we're doing a lot of talking and a lot of business with most of our customers and a variety of different things that most of the time leads to, well, hey, you fixed this last problem, I got this problem, would you like to take a look at this problem? And that's usually how we build within a customer. And eventually the customer is like, listen, I got problems, we're calling EcoTech, because that they're batting 1,000 for us. And we might have used some of these older companies and have these longer relationships, but this EcoTech company is coming in and they want to show us new stuff that can enhance reliability that we haven't been taking advantage of. And so this most of those applications, that's where it came through. We just they said, okay, we're sick of this. And from customer to customer, when we know one customer's got molten sulfur, and we just did this molten sulfur product, EcoTech will have weekly meetings with most of our sales teams, because we've got people all throughout, Southeast and Houston and East Coast and all sorts of different places. We'll get together, and one of the questions we always say is like, what's a unique thing that we've done this week that everybody can benefit from? And we share those stories, and that keeps compounding and helping out.
Yeah, and even to add on this, I mean, the most of the industry, the most of the companies there are on a global base, and we are doing business a lot around the globe. We help out this company, maybe the sister companies based in Europe. They probably have the same process and they're facing the same problems. Maybe let's say the Germans already fixed this problem. Bring those together and say, hey, your people down in Germany, they fix this problems like this. Why don't you try that? What is really your bad actor? Let us figure it out.
Yeah, that's been a tremendous way that we've done business. Yeah. So I'll talk to Michael and I'll say, hey, really a lot of times it's this company sounds German, and and Michael will be like, it is German, and we've been selling them, or Swiss, and we've been selling them for the last 50 years. And then we'll say, can you give us a product list? And CP's documentation is excellent, so we'll get what fluids they're handling, what pumps they've got, how long they've been there, and we can take that to their sister company here and say, check this out, make some phone calls and see if this would benefit you guys stateside. And by the way, EcoTech's here to support you, so you're not having to wait a day, the call at night and wait for your response the next day. We've got Michael here with us, so we've got the coverage and the support here locally.
Fantastic.
Exactly. So we go as well together to the clients and see the customers and show them how close we're working together and how quick we can get to a solution.
So if I could, I'm just going to assume something here. EcoTech started off being proactive in trying to solve people's problems, and they were taking various components and utilizing them to resolve the problem. And you found a real gem with CP pumps. So it seems like there's more of a collaborative relationship now. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So how long has EcoTech been around, and how long have they been connected with CP pumps?
So we've been around. CP was established in 2016, and we have been around since then. Me and my business partner, and probably about 18, really kind of amped it up. So 16 and 17 were kind of growth years, kind of establishing what our vision was, what we're going to look like. So we're a young company, but we're growing really, really fast. Within that time, there was another company that was connected with CP. That company was up for sale, and we acquired that company, which led to our partnership with CP now direct for about 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And but historically speaking, I've known about this pump for a long time, personally, and
Yeah.
I've known about the pump brand. Ironically, and I won't say manufacturers or anything, but ironically, I found out about this pump in a mechanical seal training class. And so I was sitting next to an engineer at a chemical company, and he said, "Hey," and we were chatting stuff, and getting nerdy with our equipment talks, and he was like, "Hey, I got this application. We're trying out this pump. It's called CP, and it's supposed to handle 30% solid content. It's a mag drive." And I was like, "Yeah, mag drives can't do that." And he was like, "No, I mean they're saying they can. They're giving us a pump to try." And I was like, I don't believe it, but I was like, I'll see. And so I probably kept up with that guy off and on for about a year, and it was so successful that's when I kind of reached out and was like, how do I get involved here, because this is a phenomenal product. And that's just kind of led to one thing after another, and a very strong relationship with Michael and CP Pumpen. It's been a great thing. I've always known that it would be it's a gem in the US, and so when we had the opportunity to acquire one of the partners, we did it without even thinking, because it's the potential in the US market is crazy awesome. Because it's not just a good product, but it's a problem solver.
Yeah, I can add here on something which is actually pretty funny. I mean, I know my friend Trent since many, many years already, because when he used to work for other companies, he's already put in place CP solutions. So actually we knew with whom we're going into a business, because we know each other since so many years already. That's actually very, very nice to have a relationship, which is a trustful relationship. And really, after an open book, we talk open with each other. We name out the problems we do have, if we have some, and we're going to solve it.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Now, I'm curious about something. A mag drive, no seal pump. It sounds very exotic, and it actually sounds like it probably has a price that would match it, I'm assuming. Now, I don't want to get into pricing and all that, but I happen to know that there's some industries where they're having issues with seal failure, but the way they're looking at it is, this is a $15 part. Yes, I've got 87 pumps, and 1 a day or 2 a day are going down, and I have to change the seal. But they're not doing the math, because if they realize how much downtime they're having, they could probably resolve it with a sealless pump, a mag drive pump. My problem is there a way that you can kind of meet in the middle from like I said, a $15 seal versus a pretty complicated, and it's the Maserati when it comes to avoiding infiltration of liquids. Am I right? I mean, there's nothing better out there.
It is, and interesting enough, we're seeing like a kind of an industry shift. There's just this real big mag drive shift that's going on right now. It used to be that it was like, all right, all pumps are packed, and then mechanical seals came out, and you saw this big migration of mechanical seals, and then mag drive technology came out, and it was kind of came out soft. with a lot of problems, and people tried it. And so one of the biggest hurdles we have to kind of come over is not so much the price hurdle, because generally we can show a 2-year ROI on pretty much anything. I mean, if it's a simple water pump with a single seal, probably not. But if it's a double mechanical seal with a seal barrier system, the 53A, that all adds up quick.
Right.
And we can show the 2-year ROI on most installations. Our biggest hurdle is when a lot of mag drive pumps came out, and still a lot on the market, they kind of took a pump and they added a magnet to it instead of starting from scratch and saying, let's design a mag drive pump, which is what CP has done. And so I have a lot of time talking to engineers at plants who will say, we just don't use mag drive pumps. We tried them, no good. And that's a big objection that we overcome. We said, listen, we hear that all the time. That is not new to us. We hear mag drives are bad, and mag drives are great when they're applied correctly and they're designed correctly. And that's kind of where we don't find the price as much. We find having to convince them to try it again, and when they do, they're pleasantly surprised. And that hurdle's been broken down. You're seeing at a lot of these plants where they have mag drive initiatives, emission initiatives, and trying to get away from seals whenever they can. And that's generally what we see.
I mean, we are so convinced about our product and about our system that we even sometimes are happy. Please have a trial pump, put it in place, and when you are happy with the pump, please pay us, right? Otherwise, we're going to take it back, because we are convinced this is the right pump for your process, and we're going to avoid the other problem. We're just going to make your life easier.
I love it. Well, tell me a little bit about, I think you have a couple of screenshots to show, don't you? Feel free to share a couple of neat things for us.
Let's see. This one,
Yeah, we'll do right here.
Yeah, maybe just real quick about our company. We are actually, since 1948, we are on the market in Switzerland. Since 1981, we actually developed the Mac-driven pump, which we have worldwide in place. So actually, the one thing is a stainless steel Mac-driven pump, which we call the Mkp. And this is not the only pump we actually have in place to solve the customer's problem. We have as well a PFA lined version, which we call MKPL. We have an MSKP, maybe highlight an MKP BO, which we mentioned earlier, Trent, for solving the problems in a hygienic area, which is having no dead space in the pump, which is Mac driven, nothing is coming out, it's hermetically tight, no dead space as mentioned, and everything is electro polished inside. So a very, very clean pump, which you put in place vertically. As well, we have self-priming pumps, which sometimes when you look at customers, they have always the submerging pumps in place, and you say, hey, why don't you try a self-priming pump? It would do the same job, but it's cheaper and it's accessible and much better to all in the end to maintain this pump. Maybe one other pump, which is one of my most favorite pump, is a ET pump. We call it like that. It's a ceramic lined pump. There, when you have a media which is highly corrosive and highly abrasive, this is the pump of your choice, which we have to offer as well with the double mechanical seal. But this is avoiding really the long-term living cycle of a pump, or that the pump is just going to be failing and you have to change the pump again. It's always the point is always reducing downtime on a site, right? Yeah, that's what we do. And like I said, we are international around with our company. We have a division in Germany, we have a division in France, we have a division in Thailand, which is covering the Asian market. And what it's coming up in the next couple of years, and I'm very proud to announce that we will found CP Pumps US. to even be closer in the US market and support all ODIA customers in the new world even better.
Yeah. And that leads in, Vince, a little bit about the the product that we're kind of most activated in the US market is this Mkp ANSI or ANSI dimensional mag drive pump. We've got ANSI sizes here. The Mkp design, and it's just kind of a unique slide that we try to show everybody when we're talking about the design, because it kind of shows conventional pumps down here at the bottom. And it'll show that a conventional pump will be elongated. It'll have a large magnet on the motor side that comes over the smaller magnet that's located internally on the fluid. CP flips the script a little bit. This is where we kind of deviate from the pack when it comes to mag drive pumps. We have a smaller magnets on our atmospheric side, so it kind of stabs into the pump. What that helps us do is it compacts our design. So it brings everything in on the same axial plane. It brings our bearings located in the eye of the impeller. And so that reverse drive principle allows us to have very little fluid here, and we don't have the issue with kind of the mag torque that's here and then any forces on your impeller cracking across your bearings. It'll put a lot of load when it's elongated just from the torque. It's, from the torque design of an elongated process. With the CP setup, it'll have the bearings in the eye of the impeller, thrust bearings here. It supports from a casted threaded insert in the eye of the impeller here, or the eye of the suction. We have a slipstream that recycles fluid off the discharge, and we pressurize our bearing flush internally with discharge pressure. So high pressure flush, compact design, no back end obstructions, and better bearing wear is the reason we can handle 30% solids content and pump in any orientation. It's a unique setup. I'll also kind of show this kind of goes to the exact same thing when it talks about all the differences between this conventional system, and I could go on for hours about that, but the design or the look of it is just kind of the best way to show our customers. And I'll show this too and let Michael talk a little bit about the exploded view of what it looks like.
When I'm always being on sites and then customers, and many times I talk with the people of the maintenance departments, and they have to put their hands on the pump, but they have to be the troubleshooter on site, right? So they would like to have something which is built up as simple as possible and can be disassembled and reassembled as quick as possible with a really sharp, short maintenance manual, which they can put the pump together. I mean, it's really a few steps to open up the pump and a few steps to screw it together again and to follow the maintenance manual, which is not over 100 pages, which is done in 60 pages, that people as well gonna read it and have the possibility to read it and find the right chapter in the right space. So I always love to hear back, Michael, we are so happy with your pumps on site. We are avoiding to spend too many times at the pumps, and we can do everything ourselves. And it's always the best parts of my job to have such happy maintenance people. Maintenance people can get different, right? So another thing I would like to point out, please.
No, that's just amazing. I mean, there's less than 20 parts here.
Yeah. It's really, that's one of the, when we show, we travel around with a demo pump that will, most of our sales guys will have just so they can put it on the table. We always tell people to be careful with the magnet because you'll nuke your cell phone if it gets too close. But that's we've had a couple of awkward lunch and learns where we leave where we've destroyed someone's phone. But that we always mention that from the get-go from here on out. The setup usually is we have this wet end, which would be kind of the white components here, and we'll flip it, we'll undo it, unscrew the shaft, pull all the parts out in a matter of like 2 minutes. And maintenance personnel looks at it and they're like, are you kidding me? That's that took you 2 minutes to tear down this pump in front of us. That's unreal. But one thing I'm gonna let Michael talk to, that while we're on the slide, item number 10 here is a thermocouple. all mag drive pumps need to be protected. That's one thing that we always try to stress to people, because you have the capability of those magnets spinning against each other if it decouples, and it won't couple back until it's at rest. And that decouples, it's going to build a lot of heat real fast. And people try to do, fluid monitors, power monitors. But since we have this reverse drive, I'll let Michael talk a little bit about this item 10.
Yeah, this item 10, it's a thermosensor type T. It's directly welded on the shroud. We only can do that because we have the reverse driving principle in place. I mean, I can show it later to you. I have here a shroud like that in place. This is not the handle of the shroud. This is the thermosensor actually in place. Maybe show it like that. You see here, it's welded in directly to that. So what we have when we have when we have a mag-driven pump, what we're facing is we have eddy currents lost through the magnetic field, which have to go through the metal. This is producing heat, right? So you always have a separate flow around the shroud, which is cooling down the shroud. All magnetic pumps have to do that. That's not only at our pumps. That's just the principle of all magnet-driven pumps. So when this flow is ripping off, that means like a suction valve is closed, the discharge valve is closed, whatsoever is happening, or it's something blocked in the system, something is malfunctioned in the control room. Here, the flow here is ripping off around the shroud, and you have a temperature rise within seconds on the shroud. So this is actually preventing, in the one time, it's preventing the pump from getting a catastrophic failure when the bearing is going to be cracking because it's so overheating, because the pump is shutting off as soon the temperature rise. So everybody in a control room knows, hey, something is wrong. Let's check what we have before and after the pump. Check that, open the valves, do this, and let's start the pump again. So you don't have to open up the pump and change the bearing, or when the bearing is cracked, change the whole pump. So this is saving a lot of money for our customers, and is a perfect, unique survey on our pump.
What's funny is because we have that reverse drive, nobody else can put a thermocouple on their can. So we're the only one that can do it. And so most other pump manufacturers will use a power monitor. And what they try to do is they try to see when the motor loses load because it's decoupled, and they try to shut off the pump. But the joke on that is most of the customers will put that in when an operator is going to figure out, all right, what do they do whenever the pump trips? And what do you do whenever it throws a breaker?
Restart it.
You click the breaker, right? Well, you're at your house and the power goes out. What's the first thing you do? You try to put the breaker back on.
Right.
Well, when the pump's having horrible problems and you hit reset and it goes again, reset and it goes again, reset, you catastrophically failed the pump because you reset it 3 times, because that power monitor needs a little bit of time when you start that piece of equipment for it to delay. And so that delay ends up killing pumps like crazy. For us, temperature is temperature. If it's hot, it's hot. You got to wait till it cools off before it can go again. And that heat's what's going to kill your pump. It's going to kill your bearings. It's going to kill, it's going to deform the metallics. If it's a PFA line pump, it's going to melt it. So it's a really unique setup. When people see that, they're like, I'm sure someone's going to figure out a way to bypass it. That'll end up happening, but that's industry standard. But for the most part, it's a new solution that protects from catastrophic failures, which in the end saves downtime and money.
Sure, brilliant idea. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, anything else you guys want to share? Are there any other screens, or you guys going to be in any trade shows or anything exciting?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'll share this slide here. We are planning on being at the TPS trade show. Well, actually, Vince, I'm sorry. I wanted to show this slide too. This one slipped my mind. When we talked about that heat jacketed, or the heated surface, this is just a quick sulphur. Yeah, for molten sulphur. We talked about that earlier. This is a quick little slide that shows the traditional design. You can't heat the fluid back here because of that that large magnet on the atmospheric side. When we flip the script and we can have it come in, we can heat the media all to the back end of the pump. And so we're the only ones that can do that. And that's why people in heated service, they steer away from mag drives, because they'll cool liquid back here. And when we talked about molten sulfur earlier, you cool it, it becomes very viscous. And if it becomes very viscous, this thing's not going to spin very well back here, and it's going to decouple. So it's this is a unique setup. And when people see our one cast heat jacket, which it's not a aftermarket design, we don't strap on some big heat jacket. We have it one cast, part of the casing, and customers that use heated products, when they use this, it's like boom, it's heated up and ready. They don't have to leave it for 4 hours and come back with some electric heat trace. But that's a quick little plug on that. I know.
No, I like it. In fact, let me ask you a quick one on that. And again, I'm the new guy on the block here, but is 5, 6, 6, and 7 the representation of the heat jacket?
Yeah, that would represent different aspects of the pump on a slide. We pulled this from a brochure.
Yeah.
The red section would be the void where the heated media is being pushed through.
Okay.
And so what we're looking at is a cross section of the pump. And so what it will do is it'll come in on one side, the heated media, and it'll do a full revolution and come out the bottom. So there'll be a separation of that cavity. So you're taking either hot oil, steam, or in some cases cooling. We do cooling processes too, where you use a cooling media to cool the pump. But when we do it, it'll take one pass in this red cavity, which is a large open cavity that's separated and isolated from the blue section, which would be your process media.
Right.
And that's the 5, 6, and 7 are little tags of labeling parts and stuff from a brochure data. So not really relevant to the slide.
Okay, I got you. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it looks like you're going to be at a TPS show.
Yeah, we went to the TPS show last December. Had a really great time. EcoTech and CP sponsored a booth together. We're there the entire time. I think this fall, it's in September. I think the last one was right before Christmas. And we had a great time, and we plan to be at booth 2919. We also plan to probably have an event, downtown at the Esperson building. We'll have a little bit more to come on that. We'll be putting some stuff out on our social media platforms to advertise. There'll be a little, dinner and drinks after the show type of thing. Great. It should be a good time. Last year we did it as a trial to see if it would be fun, and it was well received. So we're kind of looking forward to this year as well.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for hopping on the call. Oh, you got some more info here.
Oh, that's just our social media platforms. The end of the slide. Everybody can find us. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we say EcoTech, but we're EcoTechnical would be our technical name as far as our full name. And so if people are finding us on the web, it's eco-technical.com. And we've got a lot of resources on our website and social media platforms and reviews. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I really appreciate it, Vince.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Well, it was fascinating, and I want to thank you guys. I do have a couple of things I wanted to mention since we're kind of doing some plugging of where we're going to be and what we're doing. I thought I'd share my screen for a second. Yeah. This is something, since we're talking about where we're going to be and what we're doing, I'm just going to share this. I don't know if you've heard about Epic yet, but you will. This is going to be down in near Houston in November, San Jacinto College in Pasadena, Texas. We're actually creating an event called the Empowering Pumps and Industry Conference, EPIC for short. And awesome. It's essentially an opportunity to introduce students end users, operations people. Here's a couple of topics that we're going to be discussing: engineering and design, maintenance and reliability, pumps and operations, and so on and so forth. November 14th and 15th. And we've a little bit more detail. We're offering tabletop displays and all kinds of fun things like that. And San Jacinto's, have you ever been there? I mean, it's right outside of Houston.
Yeah, I grew up in Houston, moved out of Houston when I was about 12. But yeah, I know San Jacinto well.
Well, great. Well,
Yeah.
that's just something that we have coming up in the future in November, and maybe a venue for EcoTech and CP Pumps. Who knows? You guys
I
are
like that.
extremely knowledgeable gentlemen, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And of course, if anybody ever has any challenges in the workplace, give EcoTech a call and find out how they can help you out. So
We love that.
yeah.
We love challenges, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you. It was a real pleasure. And I look forward to just working with you guys in the near future. Talk to you soon.
Yep.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Vince.
much. Bye-bye, Vince. Bye. Bye, everybody.